All right, we're going to open up the drawing. I'm going to use my custom template. If you haven't made one, or you just want to use the ANSI landscape, you go into the drawing. Also created the empty A landscape. That would be fine, but we'll see the part numbers come across hopefully a little bit better in this one. And I'll make this make the part numbers and materials optional. We want to start to get our views, get the basics, and then we can refine and make it more complex from there. So my two open files will bring in the isometric. It is in the default, and we can show in the exploded state. So that looks pretty good. Now, based on the issue that I ran into previously, I'm going to go ahead into my table so that I don't have an issue with the balloons or um, the views. And we'll go ahead and remove. I think I saved my my custom bill of materials somewhere, but I can always just delete the description column. We have the part number. Once we add the part number, though, probably would want to adjust that. So, well, we'll do that. We'll do that later. I'm not going to worry about it now. All right. So for our base, our assembly, we can go ahead and make sure that view is selected. Go to the annotations. We'll set the auto balloon. Came in as expected. And I want to load everything to one side. That doesn't look terrible. Some of these going pretty far across. So 6 and 2 might want to adjust those, but I'll go ahead and accept that. We can always pull one out of the magnet by grabbing it and just picking a new position. So I want to reset the arrow, and as long as it doesn't go to a question mark and lose the the connection, should be okay. Now that one was still showing. Okay, there it went. If I take those two and add a magnetic line, the spacing, no. Let's draw it through those. Missed a step. So I draw those two. Now they will move together and adjust accordingly. All right, and then these can move a little bit closer, and we'll put that in the upper side. Occasionally the video cards do kind of freak out, so if you get the shadow images, then we'll just give it a chance to correct itself. So I don't want the alignment. Notice that I'm getting the center lines or the alignment lines, and if I drop that a little bit lower, then it won't try to align perfectly. So we'll go ahead with that for now. And I'm ready to insert the next sheet. We'll go with the base. Get into the, I'm going to stay with the view palette on this one. You can always go over to drawing and model view. If we go with the view palette, then we'll find the base, open, and I kind of went back and forth on if I really need the right view. So we're gonna see. I'm gonna bring in the top view. It should auto scale, so we're at half scale. Interesting that it went that way. And then we'll go to the isometric. So that makes me wonder. No, I'm in third angle projection, so that does make me wonder what I picked that that went to that view. Oh, that is the back. All right. so let's see, that confused me a little bit. So since that one went to the top, let's see if we go that way. All right, that makes a little more sense. And the right side view, as far as the thicknesses, it might be a little clear, but I think I can get everything into these two views, and possibly 1-to-1's going to be a little too big. Let's see about a user defined and maybe go 3/4. So if I go 3-to-4, that looks pretty good. The isometric view, let's go find its and make a custom scale, and we'll just set it to 1/2. All right, so that'll kind of set it out in position. All right, so not too bad. We can adjust those as needed. We're going to have the crank arms, and anytime that you have multiples, we have the option of doing the table. Don't know that the part is going to really kind of lean that way. So when in doubt, let's do separate drawings. So I bring in the crank, and we'll go top view and the side, and go ahead with that. And then we'll bring in the follower, or yeah, the coupler, or the follower coupler, and front view, top view, isometric view. And I might end up taking that one and making it a right side view so that I can increase it, and then we'll try to do the brake view on that one since it's kind of long. And one more, we'll go in and set for the follower. Setting the 3 views, and then one more, we'll go in for the pin. And one of the downsides to trying to make these where if I did the multiple parts on one drawing sheet, it kind of messes with the title block. I don't know that it's really saving any space or any making it more readable. So let's stay with these. So pin short. All right, so you notice that I am bringing those in, and they're basically the same view. So on my next pass, I look at my assembly, just give it a quick, everything's accounted for. On sheet 2, we're in pretty good shape to go ahead with those views. Sheet 3. If I decide that I wanted to go with the right side view as better, and I think I am going to go to the brake view. So if I delete my top view and we go to projected view, I can just bring off the one side. And that's where we're going to get the length. Okay with those, and then this is where we're going to go up to the heads-up display, click on the rotate view, and let's go 90 degrees. And apply. And because I haven't added any dimensions, then I get something that looks like that. I still stayed with the 3/4, so maybe go to a 2-to-1. All right, we don't want to get too crazy. One of the reasons I'll add the weight, but I did not put it into the property, is weight is kind of one of those, you look at that and say, oh, that's 20 grams as opposed to 20 kilograms. It gives you an indicator that, oh, that might be a small part. All right, so let's rotate the view one more time. Go to 90 degrees and apply. All right, so while I'm thinking about it, and close that, I'm going to undo that real quick. And what is the difference here? We're in the top view. Let's go to front view. And yes, all right, so that does the same thing in this case. It doesn't always, or maybe it's not as easy to figure out. And by rotating the other view, I'm going to be consistent on staying with that item as opposed to shifting the view around. Not a big deal, but just something to be aware of. So we go back to the 2-to-1. All right, so I've been through, I've set my views. I'm pretty happy with the overall, and we're ready to start applying dimensions. All right, so from our smart dimension, let's get the overalls in place. And looks like I can go all the way to the bottom. So I am in inch. If you want to switch to metric, we can go millimeters, grams, and seconds. Just notice that I was in 3 decimal places, so I do want to go back to my units and make sure that the millimeters go to 2 decimal places. We'll switch to inches, and that one can go back to 3 decimal places as a standard tolerance. And let's see, am I going to be able to reach that? And my screen is just off enough. Okay, so let me hit enter and close it out. All right, so my smart dimensions then, we have the 8 millimeters at the base. And we'll bring that one a little bit closer so that I can go this way. And we'll bring one off this way since it'll be a little more readable. So we're still maintaining that same consistent geometry. And here's where the right view actually comes into play, is I cannot get to that radius from either of these views. So in that case, let's go ahead and add the right side view. We'll go with the projections. So drawing projected view, put that one back in play. Might as well delete that one. I have done the drag and drop with those, but it doesn't often work the way I expect it to. So if we go 32 that way, 30 that way, and put in my radius, would rather have the arrow pointed that way. So keep in mind when you have the radius that if you click on the grip at the arrow, you are reversing the direction. All right, so overall, got those in. Now, and I did not start this way. Oh, I'm still in the dimension. I can't move the view. Since I did not start this way, I do want to say that I don't really mix ordinate dimensions and baseline dimensions on a regular basis. But if I get far enough in, so I do want to make that 2 times. Now we did all of those, so actually it's 4 times. The confusing part of this, it's not all in the same view. So realistically, I need to go for consistency and make that 2 times. Oh, I'm thinking of the radius. What did I grab? Oh, it did grab the radius. All right, so we need to add the dimension for the hole, which goes to 2 times. And since I did not use the hole wizard on those, we will go to there and bring that down to there. And that's not too crowded. I'm trying to leave enough room up here so that when we look at this this geometry, we'll be able to work with that. So we had the 30 in place. And let's go ahead with our geometry, and I think very quickly you'll start to see these add up. And the reason I wanted to leave enough room. Now, we could stay with the 7 times spacing of 20, but from a tolerancing standpoint, it leaves a little open to interpretation, which is not usually a good thing. So let's, if we take a look at those, they're going to get a little crowded. We can drag those around, but let's take a look at the ordinate dimension. All right, so if I start off with the ordinates, I would probably stay with the ordinate throughout, and there's a good possibility that I would switch everything to ordinate just to make sure that it's consistent. But what is an ordinate? All right, so we go pick our ordinate dimension, we set our datum to 0, and then we go right down the line, and instead of having all of those numbers adding up, wanted to make sure that I had the 160 in there. Instead of having all those numbers add up and stack up through the dimensions, that now they're all in line and have a little bit of a cleaner look to them. So radius of 12. Let's see, are we going to get the little box? I always miss the little box. So let's go 2 times over at the dimension. If you get the warning that says you're overwriting a dimension, you can ignore it or hit OK and go bypass it. All right, so if you line up all of the stack up of dimensions, it has the same effect. It's just a little bit cleaner to work with. All right, so let's go to our crank. Now, part of the issue with the crank is that there's not necessarily a datum that makes a lot of sense here. So we have the radius of 9, and I want to go with the 2 times. And since I'm going to be putting those in, I'm going to do a Control C. And then when I click, I can do the Control V. And if those adjust, then that'll be fine. We'll go between the centers. We have our 50, and then from center line, 5 millimeters, and then the overall is going to give us our geometry, and then the 5 millimeters to the face. All right, so that stayed at 3/4. Let's just go ahead and make that 1:1. I'm going to jump over the coupler so we can come back to it. And pretty much we're going to do the same thing. And I will add my note. Now when I add these outside of like the whole wizard or doing those geometries, if this were to change, I'm responsible for it. I need to make the adjustment, figure out if there is something going on with that geometry. I've got to get into the smart dimension. All right, we'll go to our first, and then to our overall, and then to our thickness. All right, now when I turn this on the lathe, thing that I would be interested in, and because we're probably going to end up with the tolerances in our optional portion, we can do the 14 millimeters that way. If we do the 10 millimeters that way and 5 millimeters that way, I would want to reverse those. And the overall, what is the more critical on the stack up there, the 2 millimeters or the overall? So let's go with the overall, and I'll think through that process a little bit more, but that gives me those geometries. And then because I will be looking at these with the critical eye of, is this going to be a plus dimension, is this going to be a minus dimension, etc., then I want to to think about how to affect those changes. All right, so 14 millimeters to the outside. Let's see, is it going to let me have it? Okay, not sure why it wasn't letting me pick that line, but we'll go to the verticals. Might just be the graphics card or that I'm zoomed out. Okay, and then smart dimension, 10 millimeters and 10 millimeters. All right, so that'll have an effect possibly later on. So we go back to the coupler. All right, so the reason I wanted to mess with the coupler separately was let's go to the custom scale, and I'll make that half scale. I would like for this to be 1:1, but it's going to take up a little bit more of the space, and probably not that much more, but it gives me a good chance to use the brake view. So we'll pre-select the view, go into the brake, and we have our choice of the zigzags, the curves, the all of the different brakes that we can put in, and that will in effect shorten it up. So as long as there's no critical geometry in between those brakes, we can make this a little more readable in the geometry. Now, when it had the top view, I don't know that it automatically does that one, so I just kind of automatically come over here. See if I can find my thickness. And we go to the radius of 9, diameter of 10. Pick our length, and even with the length, it is still going to read at its overall. And I got one extra on the pick, so let's go there. And what this does is if I wanted to make the other sheets a little bit bigger, this would keep it consistent. So I don't know that I would go 2:1 on these, but I might go a little bit higher on the scale, but that would give me opportunity to make those adjustments. All right, so we've made our iterative passes of inserting the views, kind of getting a first pass. As I'm adding the dimensions, I find one that I probably need, I go add it back in. We look at the other views, see if there's something we can do with these guys to make the geometry work a little bit better. That is our basic drawing. The next round will be to start looking at the tolerances and some of the other views that we can create for an optional pass on the drawing.